needed one other recording. It's good.
So I'm Susan Morrill, I'm the city attorney here in Portsmouth, and I'm going to call to order the new audit committee, newly formed pursuant to our city ordinances. And I'll take a roll call, and then you'll go into electing a chairman, and then I will start my role here. So, Counselor Tabor,
Present?
Counselor Moreau,
Here.
Counselor Denton,
Here.
Chris White,
Here.
Jesse Lynch,
Here.
and Hawk Furman.
We believe will be joining us by phone.
Later. I'll keep an eye out.
Yep. So, under the agenda, the first item of business is to elect a chairperson. Under the ordinance, the chairperson is to be a city councilor. So,
I have a question about that, just because I thought when we actually were appointed, that John was actually appointed as chair.
I believe the mayor indicated that was his preference, but
Okay.
it is up to the committee to have a formal vote.
I nominate John Tabor.
I second.
Any discussion?
So are any other counselors present interested in being the chair?
I already chair land use, thanks. I'm good.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
I
Should that be a roll call, or?
You could make it a roll call in case, since I did not hear ayes, so I'm assuming there's opposed.
I guess I should have said that. I thought everybody said aye. So Counselor
wrong.
Tabor?
Yes.
Counselor Moreau?
yes.
Counselor Denton?
Yes.
Chris White?
Nay.
Okay. And Jesse Lynch?
Aye.
And Hawk is not present, so 4-1. Congratulations, Counselor. You are now the chair of this committee.
Okay, thank you. Thank
John,
you.
I wish you well.
Well, I appreciate that.
And I'm going to excuse myself.
A couple of things right off the top. We have a busy night tonight. We're going to interview two bidders, multiple bidders for our auditing work. So hopefully the tempo will be allegro con brio by necessity. I also wanted to extend my thanks and appreciation to Chris White and Jesse Lynch and Hawk Furman for continuing on and giving us their expertise. And lastly, I would say my role as chair, as is true in governmental bodies, is to make sure that we have full deliberation and every voice is heard. And as chairman, I should say the least and make sure that everyone else's point of view is heard so that the decisions we arrive at have been the process of a full deliberation of all the minds of all of us. That doesn't mean we won't disagree, and we can even name those disagreements, but I ask that we do that tactfully and respectfully. We all love the city. We're all here because we want to do good for the city. We may differ on how to do that, but I look forward to our deliberation. Any comments or questions about that? We have minutes to approve from, let's start with the July 25th minutes. These went back for some revisions. And I'll await a motion to approve those.
So moved.
I'll second. Suzanne, can we approve without,
Yes.
you have enough votes?
Yes.
Okay.
You don't actually have to be in the meeting if you trust, frankly, the author and the representations of the keeper of the minutes. You can actually vote on the minutes. A lot of people prefer not to, but that is, certainly, and certainly to the extent there were public minutes, people could watch the public meeting.
Right, right.
But right now, you've got a quorum, so you really only need a majority
Okay.
of those voting.
So does he need 4 votes for them to pass, or 3?
No, majority of those voting.
Of those voting,
So
okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second.
You seconded anyways.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I'll abstain, just because I didn't get a chance to watch or read, so. I had a busy afternoon.
And then we have fresh minutes from October 21. Which I've had a chance to read, but I don't know if anyone else has. If no one else has had a chance to read these, we can perhaps defer.
Yeah, I don't know whether Hawk has seen them at all either, given that they just went out today.
Okay.
So,
Well, let's set those aside then for later. And that gives us a chance to have a brief discussion before public comment. I just thought I would ask our members to share their thoughts on the purpose of our committee now that the new ordinance has been put in place, and sort of to make implicit things explicit. If you have feelings about what this committee's work should be, to air those now so that we know where each other's coming from. So I'll start off with Mr. White's had the longest tenure, so your thoughts.
Thank you, Chair. I haven't prepared anything except for this 20-page. I think that the work of the Audit Committee is critical in terms of trying to provide a mechanism that is based in the City Council for recommending to the City Council a choice of auditor for the coming year. And I know that what hangs over the City Council's work and our work is the fact that we've had the same auditor for so many years, and that issue has risen time and time again. And so I think that whether it's on the agenda or not, it certainly is a critical issue for us to address in trying to find the best auditor for the city for this coming year. That's probably fewer words the better.
Okay. And Committee Member Lynch, you're the second in
Thank you.
seniority.
Thank you, Chairman. I would say that I think it's important for this committee to have a fresh start this year. I think we made a lot of progress last year on process. We were deliberate in how we approached our recommendation to the City Council. Last year was not without its hiccups, but I would encourage everyone involved to build on the process we built last year and to take a approach this time around with a fresh view and really work towards that goal of getting the best auditor, having an independent audit. And I'd share former Chairman White's thought that we have had the same auditor for 25 years. They are Melanson's a valid candidate, but I think that's something to consider. So,
Thanks.
yep.
Counselor Denton?
Thank you. Although I voted against the changes to the ordinance, I think the purpose of this committee by the ordinance remains the same, which is to evaluate and recommend the best auditor for the city.
Great. Counselor Merle?
I agree with everything that's been said. I don't know that there's really much more to add other than we need to pick the best, most independent auditor to make sure we are able to continue for the city to thrive and be as financially solid as it is and has been.
And for myself, I go to the ordinance, which stresses two things: selecting the auditor is our primary duty, and in the independence of the audit. Because to me, the oversight role of the city's finances is the city council responsibility, which we exercise by picking an auditor. And this committee is the council's eyes and ears to determine who the best auditor is. But I think that financial oversight responsibility is very important. The auditor has to exercise independent judgment in giving his or her assessment of the city's finances to the council. So that's how I see it all fitting together, and I think we've got an important job to do. Questions or comments, further discussion on that? And I'm sure that as we get into our work, we'll find areas where we ask ourselves what our scope is, and that's a healthy discussion. We have, next we have public comment.
Yep, you also have Esther Kennedy, who has raised her hand.
Okay.
So it's up to you.
I'd like to share something with everybody that I'm going to discuss.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you're comfortable with this, could we do 3 minutes as a time limit?
I will try.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Peter Huda, 280 South Street. I just want it to be known, what I have shared with the entire committee is a right to know I just filed pursuant to 91A, and this was for information that should have been in last year's CAFR. I will just express that I find it disturbing, and I think this is one of those things that should not have to happen by a regular resident to file for this information. I know most of you are new to the accounting, the exciting world of accounting and auditing. So for the benefit of those of you who are new, I will just kind of briefly go over what I'm asking for here. The amounts in the CAFR for projects and in CIP, which is construction in progress. And what happens is you go through the capital improvement plan, which you are about to embark on. Once that's approved and bonded, it moves into construction in progress, and you start to bid a project and start your construction. At that time, in the accounting world, you're accumulating your costs, and at the end of that period, when the asset is placed in service, the asset is capitalized. So what I'm asking for here is data that was included in the last 5 years and even further back in the CAFR. And This year, it was not included. We just had totals. So the information that I want to discuss with you as an audit committee who will be looking to choose the next auditor for the next year is that the previous auditor should have looked at this. These statements, the CAFR is prepared as a non-attest service by the staff and the auditor, as previously stated in the RFP. I'm sure, Councilor Tabor, you're familiar with this, and Councilor White and Mr. Lynch. So all of this data should be consistently reported, and it should be available to the public. What happened with this year, I know you haven't had a chance to read any of this, but if you go through here, all we had was totals. And the totals are substantial. For the government activities and construction in progress, we have $18,120,039 with no detail. So what I'm asking for city attorney to provide through the right to know is the detail and the projects that relate to this. And then we go down, and this is the first year that there was no amounts attached to any of the projects that were listed in here. So I have asked for the data for the governmental entity, the water, and the sewer, and it's all listed in here. I have also attached, because I know that everybody isn't familiar with all of this, so you could have an example of what it should look like for the past 5 years. So that is my little presentation to you. And basically, I know in tonight's meeting, you're going to go into non-public to discuss and evaluate the new proposers. So the first thing I would ask of you is that in the RFP, there is a requirement, and I don't know if it was still on the same page, page 9, that the auditor shall attend at least one meeting with the audit committee and one meeting with the city council, at which time you will discuss the audit report and the management letter. I would ask that you follow the RFP and actually have a meeting. And please look at what the report looks like now, because as a resident, I should not have to ask for this data in a right to know. It should be consistently reported according to GAAP and GASB, which is the Government Accountable Standing Board rules. So that's the first thing. And the next one would be that since you are evaluating, according to Chair, at least two proposers, I would ask that you look at this and consider changing from the prior audit firm based on the information that is in here. We have had this firm for 27, probably 28 years now. The level of familiarity is evident in the reports that are being put out, and I would hope that you would take this into consideration at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
So may I just ask a clarifying question?
Certainly.
Thank you. So, Peter, what you're saying is that on your first 2 pages, all these blanks would have in years past been filled in with actual dollar amounts.
Yes, if you take a look at FY20 CAFR, you can see what was standard reporting process. The construction in progress for governmental activities, I mean, I could read some of it, at year end was 17 million, which included amounts for all of the described projects. They went through, this was 20, so it went through Maplewood Avenue, and Islington Street, Market Street Extension, McDonough, Pleasant Street, and Beverly Hills sidewalks. These are large amounts, and they should have been detailed. As you can see by the FY21, there's just nothing there. There's, for the construction in progress, there's an $18 million number. For the governmental funds capitalization of assets, there's $15 million. and it just says Senior Center, Kearsarge, and upgrades to the new Franklin School. So my request is to have the reporting be consistent here with probably forever, but I only pulled the last 5 years, so I can't tell. And this is standard operating as far as consistency. And the other thing that's concerning is the size of these numbers that were just left whole and not detailed out. Does that answer your?
It's very helpful, thank you. So the importance then of these numbers is that they help to track from year to year to year the expenses that the city is making on these various projects.
Right, and then these projects, after they're complete, actually become assets and start getting depreciated. This also rolls into the bonding of each project, when it occurs, and how much was put into there. In the end here, when you bond the project for $5 million, the staff is basically telling you that they need $5 million to complete that project and get it to the point where it's a capitalizable asset.
Right.
So this is all rolled together in here. And as I asked previously, but I never received the information, we need to know as residents where these projects are. You know, if the council and the staff is telling us that my street is going to get paved or we're going to build a certain building, you know, the representation from the city council is what they look to for transparency and evidence of where they are. And for those of us who know how to read the financials, you can trace it through. And this is one of the key methods of doing that.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Please share the numbers with us when you get those from the city.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
can.
Hi, Arthur Clow, 431 Pleasant Street. I didn't get to see much of the meeting. I didn't log into the meeting through Zoom, but I walked through the door and the one phrase I heard was, an independent audit is necessary. When you have lived with the same auditor for 27 years, it's not independent, it's a marriage at that point. There are conflicts of interest, and one of those conflicts really came out during the last session of the audit committee, where an effort was made to try to keep that generation of the non-attest data, the basis of the CAFR report, to the same auditor that we've had for 27 years, Melanson. And hearing this recent development that Ms. Huda found, it really worries me that Melanson didn't generate, after 27 years, a competent CAFR report, because in the RFP, the edits that were made by staff rather than the audit committee, they specifically called out separating out the non-attest services so that they could keep getting their award that they get. Now, their award is a nothing award. I'm a member of the AFP, Association for Financial Professionals. My certification is Certified Treasury Professionals. If they called me Certified Treasury Professional of the Year and did it for 1,000 other people who had the same designation as me because I submitted a piece of paper, well, it's not so valuable. This award that we get every year is really just part of the city manager's professional association, and the submission for it is available online. It's very simple. And one of the things that it does require is that you meet the GAP requirements. So it's a nothing award, but it means everything to the city manager and to the accounting department to get something out there that gives them this public label that they take as a term of prestige. The CAFR report not having correct numbers after 27 years when they're the only people who've done it, and when they audit off from some of their own work, apparently, gives me a lot of concern. But in the event that of the two, now that we know that number, of the two firms that are running for putting in bids, if one of them is Melanson again, we got a problem. We can't keep going back to the same well because it's not independent. You can't be together so long, and you can't be so dependent on them for this CAFA report and for this award, and it's in writing, it's in the RFPs, it's out there, it's been admitted to. And the over-involvement of city staff in the selection of the audit committee shows us again it's not truly independent. It's like the prisoners choosing the warden. Unfortunate reference, but I don't mean to say anybody's committing a crime here. What I'm trying to say is you have people that are responsible for oversight, and they're not being treated independently by the city staff. They have gone in and overwrote the audit committee's RFP document, ignored it. This audit committee seems like the composure of it is getting more and more city-centric. Audits are used to check how reliable things are going on in our finances. By allowing the city staff to be so overbearing in this process, you've almost assured that there will not be an independent audit. Because I know who you're going to choose already. I don't even have to think about it. I know who you're going to choose. You're going to choose who the city wants you to choose. You're going to choose Melanson again. It's not independent. You guys are just doing theater here, essentially, because you had a chance last year to choose the better audit firm, and you came up with just a ridiculous red herring to disqualify them.
Thank you.
So
We have people on Zoom.
Esther Kennedy was here and had her hand raised, but she's dropped off. I don't know if anyone else wishes to have any public comment. I'm thinking that's a no, unless,
She's trying to.
Esther's back.
okay.
There she is.
You wanna-
She's not muted, so.
Yeah,
She may not have heard the
Yeah.
request for.
yeah. We're doing public comment, so if you would like to comment, Esther, I think the committee's ready.
Now's the time.
Not getting any audio. Hang on, just make sure. Not seeing any, it doesn't, let me see if it looks like she has. It's not saying there's an audio issue. We could ask one of the other members to unmute and just make sure it's not on our end.
Now she's muted.
Okay.
She's not.
Still not hearing anything. Hang on.
Oh, she got her hand went up.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. There we are.
All right. Yeah, I keep getting kicked out. I'm not sure why, but that's okay. So I apologize. I'm actually en route, and I am attending this meeting being Esther Kennedy, 41 Pickering Ave. And one of the reasons I'm calling in, that what really worries me is that I have heard one of the counselors that sit on this committee say publicly they're not great with numbers. And I do hope that as you go through this deliberation, because I think everyone has been very clear, we have had the same auditor fears, that you rely on the expertise of Chris, Jesse, and Hawk, and you really look at what they have to offer. None of them really have an alternative mission except for making sure what happens in the city is right. We have had concerns, Councilor Tabor knows this, over some of the accounting that has taken place. we've had some concerns over the lack of getting some information. And when I was sitting on the audit committee, I did have concerns over the amount of involvement that city staff had in the audit when the auditors are to be auditing the city. In my audits, personally, as I've shared a couple times, I do audits as a school district employee, as an administrator of major grants, and I have no involvement. The only involvement I have is when the auditors come up and ask for a piece of information that I have not provided. But I have no discussion afterwards, I have no discussion before. It is truly a pure audit of our school system. Now, granted, it's not the multi-million-dollar audit that you do, but it is a $27+ million audit. So I request and ask that you look at our community members that are highly qualified, have years and years of expertise in this, and really listen to them. Mr. Tabor, you have said that it was time for change, and that the current auditors, when you voted them in last January, that they would be only for 1 year, and that you would truly try to bring in another firm to do some checks and balances. I hope you live up to your commitment that you made and statement you made. Again, these people are highly qualified. The 3 individuals you have on as resident members, and I believe they have more qualifications than the counselors sitting there. So I would ask that you truly make it independent, that the 6 of you, let the 6 of you decide and not someone from the city. Because anytime the city gets involved and makes it part of the decision-making, then it can't be a pure, truly audit. Thank you for the time of speaking.
Thank you, Esther. Do we have any others on Zoom who'd like to comment? This is public comment. Okay.
So now, if you want to move forward, you'd want to move into non-public session, and the
Right.
reference is down below.
I'll close public comment, and we are going to interview prospective bidders for city work, so we're going to move into non-public under RSA 91A:5 and 91A:3, 2, C, D, and I. And I'll need a motion to do that.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Give me a minute here. And this Zoom. That can drop. All right. I won't open up the other Zoom until we have everyone out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
both.
Have a good night. All right.
So let me just, I've got little updates. Okay. Hold on. We moved into
We've
non-public.
got our recording light off.
Yep, hold on, thank you. Let me make sure I stop the recording.